So we are on page 286 in our religion books. What have we been talking a lot about so far, 5th grade? What have we been talking about? Addie?
The commandments.
The commandments. We've been talking about the 10 commandments. Philip, put that book away. Your religion book should be open. 286. So today we're going to focus on the first 3 commandments. How many of you would say you know all 10 commandments by heart? How many of you know all 10 commandments by heart? Okay, I see some people are like, maybe. So it's good for us to review them. Yeah, it can be hard. I mean, there's the obvious ones like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, that we know really well. But there are others that we don't talk about as much. So we're going to kind of go through all the commandments. As we read, I want you to focus on, do you guys see how there's a faith focus question on your page? Yeah, so the question there says, how do the first and second commandments help us live? So I want you to think about that question as we read, because I'm going to ask you that question when we're done reading today. Capiche? Awesome. So follow along with me. The first 3 commandments. The first, second, and third commandments describe our privileges and responsibilities to worship God. They also tell us how we are to show our love for God. The first commandment. So again, anything in blue, that's like an actual Bible verse. I am the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me. So Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 through 3. Who can read that next paragraph for us, nice and loud? Max, go ahead.
The first commandment called the Israelites to have faith and trust in the one true God. Sometimes it was very difficult for the Israelites to practice their religion. Other nations encouraged them to worship false gods. When the Israelites saw the other nations seemed wealthier and more powerful, they wondered, are there gods more powerful than the Lord our God?
Awesome. So you guys, do you remember how we were talking yesterday about Moses going up the mountain and receiving the 10 commandments? And when he came back down, the Israelites were worshiping something other than their God. You remember that? So God tells us, you are not supposed to worship other gods before me. I am your God. I will watch over you. But if you're worshiping other gods, it's harder for me to watch over you. So our first commandment is not to have strange gods before our God. Who can read that second paragraph for us? Michael, nice and loud.
Through the first commandment, God calls us to worship him alone. He calls us to believe and hope in him, and love above all else. We are not letting things such as money or being popular become more important to us than God.
Awesome. So just like in the paragraph that Max read, the Israelites saw these other nations who were worshiping different gods, and they were wealthier and seemed to be more prosperous. And so they were wondering, are we doing the right thing? Are we honoring the correct God? They seem to be getting all these money and they're so prosperous. Maybe we should be worshiping that God. But God tells us, you should not let your quest for popularity or wealth get in the way of loving me, because as you love me, I will love you. So I want you to think about, if you had to put in your own words, what does it mean to love and honor God above all else? What does that mean? That I want you to think, maybe you have a different way of putting that in words. Maybe you have an example of how you can love and honor God above all else. I want you to think about, what does that mean when we love and honor God above all else? Turn and share with the people around you. What does that mean? What does it mean?
Only worship one God.
Yep, only worshiping one God. What else does it mean? Above all else. What does that mean?
Above all God, then to know that you don't believe that much.
Yeah, you aren't as faithful of a believer. Okay. Okay, that's why we have class discussion. Yeah, I mean, it's important to learn about other cultures, right, and what they believe. But we know to believe in one God.
But they would go like Christians.
Okay, so what's the time?
Say this 10 times.
Oh, I'm gonna pray this. Decided to let me know.
Yep. What's up?
Why do they have a
Because when presidents are inaugurated, they usually will place their hand on the book of worship for them. So if you're Catholic, it's a Bible. And so when you're sworn in, you put your hand on whatever book it is that you worship. All right. Will and Jack P., why do we not have our masks covering our faces? Thank you. All right. So, who can tell me, what does it mean to love and honor God above all else? What does that mean? Max, what does that mean? Okay, nothing is more important than God. How many of you would agree with Max? Okay, what else does it mean? Addie.
It means only worship one God, because you could go crazy. You could say, okay, so what's the 10 Commandments? I'm gonna pray to whoever to help me learn them.
Okay, it means only worshiping one God. What else does it mean? No one besides Max or Addie has an answer to this question? But your hand didn't even go up when I asked the question, Mackenzie. Yeah. Do we need to turn and talk again?
No.
So then who has another answer for me? I know these two have answers. Philip.
You can, to worship God above all else, you love Him more than anything else, don't worship other gods, and follow the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, it also involves following the 10 Commandments that he gave to us. Awesome. Michael?
Make sure that you aren't like being more important than Him, like saying, "Oh, I'm more important than God," or just always following Him and go to Mass and keep praising Him and keep asking Him for forgiveness if you do something bad, and just keep loving Him. And if you keep following Him, He'll keep loving you, and He'll just. That's really all that.
No, exactly. I think that has a lot to do with always trusting that God is there with you, right?
Yeah.
Always trusting in him. Richie?
Don't let popularity or wealthiness get in your way of God.
Yes, exactly. Max and Addie, would you like to share your additional thoughts? Max, go ahead. Yeah. Yes. How many of you have found, like on some Sundays or some days, that church seems almost like a chore? Like, oh, I have to go to church. How many of you have ever felt that? Be honest. I think most of us have once or twice. It's about realizing, even though we have such busy lives, or there's this thing we really want to go do, we are making the time to visit church and to worship God. Yes, Addie.
I was like going to church and praying to God.
Okay, going to church and praying to God. Awesome. Okay, Jack P., you should be at your desk. Stop bothering Will, please. Okay, the second commandment. So follow along with me as we read about the second commandment. So first commandment, worship our God above all else. Second commandment, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And so that's Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. Who can read that paragraph for us? Jacko, go ahead.
The second commandment teaches us that we are to use God's name truthfully and with respect. We use God's name in vain when we take an
Oath.
to tell the truth and lie. When we do this, we call upon God and as a witness to a lie as if it were the truth.
How many of you have ever heard someone or seen in a TV show someone says, I swear to God I'm not lying? How many of you have seen that, like in a TV show or heard someone say that? When, maybe in the TV show, you know that person's lying. Are they following the second commandment when they say that? No. We do not use God as a way to try and gain people's trust like that. That is not Christian, and that is not the Catholic thing to do. How many of you have caught yourself ever saying, oh my God? That is also using the Lord's name in vain. Are there other words we could use instead of God in that phrase? Raise your hand if you have one. What's something we could say instead? What's something we could say, Elena?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. What's another one? Drew?
Goodness.
Oh my goodness. What's another one? Chanel?
Oh my grapefruit.
Oh my grapefruit. Yeah. Layla?
Oh my stars.
Oh my stars. Yes, I've heard that one. Michael?
Oh, my pizza.
Oh my pizza. Emmy?
Oh my popcorn.
Oh my popcorn. Addie?
Oh my gall.
Oh my gall. Yes.
Holy bananas.
Holy bananas.
Cheese.
Yes.
My squash.
Oh my squash. So there are other words we can substitute for God in that phrase, right? So the next time you catch yourself saying, oh my, try to catch yourself from saying God, because we worship and revere our God. We show him love and respect. When we just toss his name around like that, we're not showing him respect, are we? No. So try to think of another word to use in that sentence that is still respectful, and it still conveys what you're trying to say, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot to do this. Michael.
There's also a different way that you can respect God. If you're typing like God's name, like you should always capitalize it. No,
Yeah.
no meaning of sentence or anything. It's just a respectful thing.
Exactly, always capitalizing his name. And you guys, if you're praying, sometimes people will start the prayer as, oh my God, please watch over me, as if you're talking to God. So that's a little different. But if you're just saying like, oh my gosh, don't be using God's name in that phrase. Who can read the second paragraph for us? Let's have Emmy, nice and loud.
People trust us when we take an wait. was that
Yep.
what okay. People trust us when we take an oath and call on God to witness to the truth of what we are saying, or promise friendships, families, schools, communities, and countries are built on promise people keep.
Exactly.
People keep.
Nice. So it's just like what I was saying. If you've ever heard someone say, I swear to God that, you don't swear to God when you're trying to convince someone to believe you, especially if you're lying, because then you are taking the Lord's name in vain. You're not respecting it. Drew.
Can I read the?
Yes, go ahead.
We also use God's name in vain. When we curse or swear or use the name God or Jesus in the anger of or any
Inappropriate.
inappropriate way, this is called profanity. When we speak God's name in these ways, we are not showing our love or respect for God.
Awesome. And so that's what we were just talking about too. That's why you don't say, oh my God. Unless, of course, you're praying, and that's how you're starting out your prayer to him. There are certain prayers that start with the words, oh my God, or oh my Lord.
If I almost say it, I just try to catch myself.
Yep. Try to catch yourself. Or if you say it really quick and you realize, you don't need to say out loud, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. But maybe in your head, send up a silent prayer to God saying, I'm sorry, I will try to do better next time. Yes, Jack.
I know if people do that and they try to catch yourself, but they actually say it,
Mhm.
they just say a quick prayer.
Exactly.
Right after it.
Yep, exactly. Because we have an all-forgiving God, right? Yeah, we do. So he knows, if you accidentally were to say his name, like, oh my God, and you take the time to apologize or feel bad about it, he knows that you're sorry. Okay, why is it important for us to speak the truth, you guys? Why is that so important? Why is it so important for us to speak the truth? Turn and talk first. Why is that important?
I know a lot of people, they lie. I know a lot of people that if they do something really bad, they lie for like a month.
It just gets worse, right?
And if you tell someone a lie, like if you're like, oh, you heard this big thing, they'll think about that the rest of their life, and it kind of ruins their life a little bit. Because they're telling a lie,
That they think is true.
and they're gonna get made fun of if they say that in front of all people.
You're right.
Like if you're at a big public speech and you said, say this, which doesn't make sense,
Exactly. Ready to rock. Ready to rock. All right, so 5th grade, why is it important that we speak the truth, that we always speak the truth? Frankie?
So, like, people can trust you, and then if you're, like, lying, and someone catches you that you're lying, they won't, like, trust you, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know if you can trust you, and you'll just have a bad name for yourself.
Yes. How many of you have had someone tell you a lie before? Okay. Was it hard for you then for a little while to believe everything that that person was saying afterwards? My parents always told my brother and I, whatever situation you're in, I know it seems bad, but please never lie to us, because we always want to be able to take you for your word. If you lie to us, then we will start second guessing everything you say, even when you're telling the truth. How many of you have been told something similar to that? Exactly. Why else is it important for us to speak the truth? Why else? Layla?
Because if we keep on doing it, it's going to turn into worse, and no one's going to trust us ever again.
How many of you have ever told a fib, and then you keep lying to cover up the fib, and suddenly you're standing there with this big lie, and you're like, how did I even get to this big lie? How many of you have ever done that? I know I did when I was a kid. If you fib, it is better to confess, I'm sorry, I lied, or to just tell the truth instead of telling more and more lies to cover up the once little fib that is now this big thing. And you become very stressed when you're carrying that lie around with you, right? Yes. So it helps us, by not having to put ourselves through that stress, but then also you're telling the truth and people can then trust you. Drew.
When I used to lie sometimes to my mom and dad, they would just stare at me, and then I would start to laugh, so they kind of knew I was lying. And it always works. And then if I'm telling the truth, they're like, are you sure you're telling the truth? And I'm like, yeah. And then they'll just walk away if I'm not, laughing or anything.
Yes, I would say as adults, the adults in your life who know you really well, they can tell. They might let you go along with the lie for a little bit because they're hoping that you eventually step up and admit to the truth. But the adults who are close to you in your life, they can tell. And so sometimes the adults in our lives, they give us a chance, right, to tell the truth. So maybe they act like they believe your lie, but they are secretly hoping you come to them and tell the truth.
When they find out I was lying, I'll just admit it because I already knew my dad.
You're in trouble. Yep. Max.
Not to lie, because it's also lying commitment.
Exactly, and Iosius is going to say that too. Lying that's one of our commandments as well, which we'll be talking about. So you don't want to break one of the commandments by lying. Yes, Elena?
What time do I have to go up for the mass reading?
10 o'clock. Any other reasons why we should always speak the truth? Addie?
Because if you keep on lying, they'll know you as a liar, and then you'll have a bunch of lies, and then you have to they have to forgive you for those lies, which will be really, really hard.
Yes, it's a long process when we lie. It's not just the lie itself, it's the fact that the person we're lying to will eventually have to learn to forgive us and start trusting us again, which it can take time to start trusting someone again, can't it? It doesn't happen right away all the time. Richie.
Wait, this is about math?
Yeah.
Wait, it's our turn to do the reading again?
No, first grade needed help with one of the readings, so Elena's going to do one of the readings. Yep. Chanel.
So my dad always told me that saying when you lie, they always come back to haunt you. And also I had me and my friend, we had another friend, and she told this big lie that she was moving to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so. And she went there for vacation.
Yeah.
And she came, it was a birthday trip. When she came back, we're like, did you guys already move so soon? And she's like, no, we just came because we lost some stuff. And they stayed there for a while.
Yeah.
So we ended up figuring it out. And then on top of that, she also lied to us about a lot of other stuff.
And it was probably hard for you to trust her again, right? Emmy?
So, if you lie, let's say to your best friend, and you lie to them, figure out the lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were lying to them for a while, and then you try to cover up all that lies with
More
that
lies.
lie with more lies.
Yeah.
Then like your best friend wouldn't trust you like for a while, and like every time you spoke the truth or something, she or he would be like, "Are you telling the truth or are you telling a lie?"
Exactly. They don't know if they can trust you. Now, guys, I want to make sure we recognize, are there sometimes situations where it's okay to tell a white lie?
Yeah, like two truths and a lie.
Yeah.
Well, yes. But also, like, let's say you're keeping a secret for, like, a surprise birthday party. That's different, right? Or
Trying to kidnap you.
well, I was going to say, or if you're in a weird situation and your sixth sense is kind of telling you, hey, we need to get out of this situation, you can make a lie and say, oh, actually, my parents are coming to pick me up. I need to go wait for them over here. So those kinds of things obviously are different from just lying because you did something wrong and you're trying to cover it up, okay? Now, I know you all have experiences that you can share about someone lying to you or maybe you telling a lie. I want to come back to that first question I asked you to think about. And I know I said, oh yeah, so how do the first and second commandments help us live? How do they help us be a good disciple to Jesus and to God? Turn and talk to the people around you. How do they help us live?
I was gonna say you could lie on April Fool's.
And I was gonna
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah, so that's one of the ones where it's a little different. Yeah, so those are different. Those are different.
Those are just trying to put a surprise.
Exactly. Surprises are different. If you're in one of those weird situations where your sixth sense is telling you, oh, we need to get ourselves out of this situation, that's different. Yes. Yes. So I'll go first grade, kindergarten, age 7, 6. No, preschool usually doesn't. They don't usually leave, or actually, they're 8th grade buddies with them, but I think my buddies can't be together. I don't think you are. They both just 8th grade buddies, 8th grade buddies. Yes. Alright, so I heard a couple different things as I was listening to you guys discussing how the first and second commandments help us live. I heard some people talking about, well, it helps us have a stronger relationship with God because we're putting Him before all else. I heard some people talking about how not using the Lord's name in vain or using the Lord's name kind of to cover up a lie, how that helps others trust us and help us like maintain our integrity. I heard some people talking about how these two help us communicate with God and all of those types of things. So you guys, I heard some great answers and you had a great discussion today during religion class. Are there any questions about the first or second commandment? Any questions? Frankie?
For the second commandment,
Yes.
like, let's say you say like, oh my gosh, or whatever God,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then if you do like a silent prayer, you know, in like your head or something,
Yeah.
would that like make it up? Like if you're truly sorry, not just like doing it because
Yeah.
you really just
Yes, I would say so. I would say so. And as long as you're trying to do better next time. Yep. Because you're right. If you believed, okay, all that I have to do is say a prayer afterwards and it's like it's been erased, then some people will go through life using it, and even though they know they're not supposed to, and they think, oh, I'll just say this prayer. But as long as you feel in your heart, I'm sorry I did that, and I'm going to try to do better next time, God knows. God knows. Yeah. Any other questions? Iosius? Okay. All right. Nice job today with religion, you guys. What I want you to do is open up in your math workbooks to last night's homework and then take a stretch break.